Do the roll call, starting with Rick.
Rick Manton.
Tim Wayne.
Frederick Massey.
Jenny Flanagan.
Blake Costa.
Okay, and first order of business, we do have a quorum. First order of business is the approval of the minutes, which were distributed to us prior to this meeting. Do I have any changes or,
Yes, I'm doing.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I meant now.
Oh, no.
Anything further from anyone? No? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we approve them both at the same time?
Just
or-
that.
Yeah, okay, so the first one will be
For
October
November?
27th, Rick,
For which one?
the October 27th,
Okay, I make a motion, we approve October 27 minutes.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, and could I have a second motion
Make
for
a
the
motion
November
for November
24th?
24th.
That's from Rick, a second.
Second.
We're
Doesn't
jockeying
matter.
for position here. All in favor?
Aye.
The Warren Comprehensive Plan implementation discussion. This is a discussion of the implementation actions assigned to the planning board in the 2024 Warren Comprehensive Plan, including identification of which actions the board would like to prioritize and initiate first. And then we had the draft letter from the planning board to responsible parties for comp plan implementation action, which Allison wrote and is excellent. Essentially, what we're doing is holding folks accountable for their role as they were assigned within the action items of the comprehensive plan. And Allison's piece is short and pithy and to the point. And, you know, it's going to be hard for somebody to wiggle out of that. But right now, the rest of the town staff has to be alerted to the fact that this is coming up and they've got to be, you know, ready for that. So I'm assuming that letter is going to go out.
One question on the letter.
Send it to Brian and before, and then it goes to any departments, but then also the committees like.
Right.
That are listed.
One question I have on a minute, on the letter. On the second line, it says state approval in 2026, 2025 that they approved.
I think that, well, the comp plan was approved by the town council, planning board 2025, the state approval came in 2026.
We're not in 2026
Oh,
yet.
sorry. 2024. I know, I'm ahead. Oh, all right, thank you, thank you. All
Hey,
right,
good
I'll
catch.
correct the
Yeah.
date.
And the second question I have on this,
Well,
does
no,
each-
But that date is for what we want to prioritize in 2026. It
That-
doesn't say that's the
No.
date of the,
well, I'm looking at this letter here.
right.
And it says, which received state approval in 2026.
Oh,
Typo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so 2025.
And the next one, Rick?
Clarify that.
Next thing, does each department have a copy of the comprehensive plan?
Not
That's
if
been
it's-
forwarded?
it's now posted on the town website, so we should reference that, that's not in the letter, yeah, it's at the link, right, to where it is on the website. I think, well, or some printed there, no, I guess the town did print out. a copy. Yeah, okay, shoot.
And within this, I will say that Blake did a great job, as we've seen, with pulling out the specific actions that have to be taken. Clearly, at some point, you're gonna need to then do the priorities and to consolidate, if possible, some of those actions, because there's a lengthy list. And-
So, right, so the letter would be then, you take the table and just sort by, like, responsible party, so we'll give them each a spreadsheet with just their actions, where they're listed as responsible party.
Great.
And then as a planning board, we take ownership of like just monitoring it and making sure that deliverables are coming our way or to the town council.
Plan and that the planning board is
Yep.
responsible for implementation of it, so, but with obviously partnership with
Yep.
other responsible parties.
Great.
Yeah, so that's what we're just trying to start that, just communication and check in, and the planning board can't do all of those.
Yeah.
things, but something other. That or departments or other committees would be helping with. implementation.
Well, oftentimes, what happens with communities is, you know, you have the comprehensive plan, the planning board does it, town council approves, state approves. And then the implementation never happens.
Right.
And I think it's a good idea what we have here. It's also a good idea to have the planning board supervise the implementation.
I
To
agree.
make sure that these things get done.
I think like as a board, we should be, I'm super motivated to see this implement and like over the next 5 years, especially year one. I think we get a lot done this year in 2026. Try to not overwhelm ourselves, but come out with the 2026 report in January 2027 and be like, hey, this is what we've accomplished. And then use that as like a base of, all right, let's be motivated, and get this done and not just sit on it.
Right, then it's encouraging, when you see
Yeah.
things starting to be implemented, you can report out, and you feel like there's things like.
So we do have a
happening, and-
reporting requirement each year.
And then, the state requires a 5-year, it used to be comp plans updated every 5 years, but that had changed to every 10 years, given how many years it takes for a town to even write a comp plan.
Yeah.
So, but they did in that law change say, okay, you can have 10-year approvals, but we would like to see a 5-year implementation status report. So this kind of, yeah. Like.
Well, we also built,
I thought I read somewhere where you had to have an annual update of what you've accomplished so far.
yeah,
I thought this was with the state.
No, that's just in our SOPs that every year we need to provide a update of what was done the previous year to the town council. It's just a situational awareness policy from what I interpreted.
and there's also a possibility to revise the comprehensive plan as we move forward. So there were, obviously there were changes that occurred actually in the writing during that exhaustive, long drawn out period of putting the thing together where a lot changed. I mean, the comprehensive permit
Can,
raised its pointed head at
Can-
that point.
can local ordinances get ahead of the comprehensive plan?
Well, I mean,
It takes a long time for us to update the comprehensive plan, but if, something comes over our horizon like, data centers, and we haven't even talked about data centers in the comprehensive plan, can we address that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can adopt
Yeah.
ordinances that aren't listed within the comprehensive plan. I mean, the planning board should make sure it's consistent and not inconsistent with your comp plan, or you could have an amendment, something, but yeah, certainly amendments are gonna happen to ordinances that
Right.
aren't.
Yes, but by statute, a comprehensive plan can be amended up 3 times a year.
Oh.
So if something comes up,
Locally,
yes,
without state approval to make that happen.
well, you have to bounce it up to the state, but what happens, if there's an issue that comes up, like I said, data centers or whatever. Town has the ability to take a look at that and make amendments to the comprehensive plan on an annual basis. So you can do that too. You've got 2 routes when those things come up. As Allison said, you've got 2, the ordinance route, but if it warrants a change to the comprehensive plan, that also.
And if it was something that's already talked about in the comprehensive plan, and we're doing something different, then we have to amend the comprehensive plan first?
If it's inconsistent, I mean, in the cases, for example, what I've seen in the past, sometimes might happen where there's a zoning map change, like somebody wants to change the zoning district of property or an area, and you have your future land use map in the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
If it's not consistent, like with the future land use map, you need to amend the future land use map before you adopt that zoning map change. So that's where it's like, cause it's so specific.
So if the
Some
Warren
things,
Land
yeah.
Trust gets more conservation land, that might trigger, and we want it in the conservation district for tax purposes or whatever else, then, I'm sorry, we, the Warren Land Trust, because I'm on that board. If the Warren Land Trust desires that change, then that would have to be made in the comp plan, future land use plan as well.
Yeah, under the West case, you need to make sure that your future land use map, your zoning map aligns with the future land use map in the comprehensive plan. you know, oftentimes what happens is what we're referencing here is you will have somebody, petition the town council to amend comprehensive plan. Now, it could be in something that, you know, you're talking about, it could be for somebody who wants to put in a land development project. And then that would come back to you. So not only can't, you as a board say we want to change the comprehensive plan, you might be confronted with, you know, a third party saying we want to change. the
So if
comprehensive
someone
plan
has,
For this particular project,
right, so if someone has a parcel in the R40 zone that butts up against the R10 zone, and they want that changed over to R10, the town council approves that will require a change in the future land use map in addition to the zoning map.
They would first have to have the change before the
Yeah,
town
first
could
year.
vote on it.
But they might say low density residential versus high density
Right,
residential.
got it.
Kinda- Technically, that is the appropriate.
Okay.
Would that not be what things like Settlers Green would require?
Because, well,
That's a comp permit, so it
yeah.
it overrides zoning.
Just asking, because we're talking about this and now we've already done two of them,
yeah, we're actually gonna
Penny
discuss
Lane
that
and now Settlers Green.
in the next matter. We're gonna discuss the interface.
And so if there's nothing further, we will move along to this.
Well, can I ask, because in the minutes, it was referenced that the planning board members were asked to identify in Blake's list, the 10 items that were most important to them, and there were two that seemed to be critical, which we're already addressing tonight with the ADUs. But it seems to me the other one that we need to get on as soon as possible is updating our comprehensive permit language, ordinance, checklist. I mean, it seems like there's things in the checklist that we would like to have been there at earlier stages that are not right now. So it seems to me the comprehensive permit needs to be one of the high priorities of things to examine, because I suspect more of them are gonna be coming our way.
The town had, so Weston Sampson's on board to do true housing MTAP programs. They're gonna do all those zoning and subdivision amendments required to be consistent with state law, so there will be.
So they'll do that for us.
Yes.
Okay,
They'll
and then
they'll
if,
be engaged in that process, obviously, but you'll see all the drafts. of
so they'll,
ordinances.
for instance, also pick up, more robust requests for like trees in the subdivision regs and things like that.
No,
Because there's a lot of
They're not gonna
references to
use
trees
trees.
in the comp plan, and that seems like it should be carried into the subdivision regs.
yeah, that would be outside, I'm just thinking, they're
Okay.
it's specific state law, but but certainly that's. something
As we
that
review
town
it, then we can-
do.
But as far as the assets of like the checklist and things that we want to add in like this, we still have the ability to do that. We're just going to use their feedback to say, hey, here's a baseline of what you need to meet state law. And then from there, we can build off of it. So I think we're going to have an opportunity to bring in historic tree and make sure that everything. And as we start to develop these new ordinances or procedures, we should be looking back and referencing these 200 individual action items to say, is there something that overlaps that we need to tie into this? So I think preliminary, like getting that, having them do the legwork of what do we need legally, and then we get to do it, what do we want and need for our comprehensive plan in our town, is the way I interpret it.
Yeah, if they're working on a section, we feel like there's opportunity to add other, you know, certainly do that, it'll be more efficient, right? But there might be sections they don't touch that, and then also.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the referral to the planning board for feedback regarding the ordinance changes, Article 8 zoning district use regulations and Article 24 accessory dwelling units. We were given a marked up copy that was apparently created by Derek Trombley, who's a town council member, without any input from the town or from the planning board. And his statement in the newspaper is that there's two things. One is that we can discuss this. The point that they're asking for here is not for us to craft this zoning regulation, but to judge it in relation to the comprehensive plan and to say, does this ADU regulation meet that? The problem is that the regulation is right now in the ether until Tony and Allison, Alyssa, Matt, get a chance to look at it. And, you know, clearly when Derek was putting it together, there were some things that we know about the town that he didn't take into consideration in that drafting. So, for example, the Tuisset Point area is a village overlay. It relies on a very limited water source or private wells, and it's all septic. And none of the houses on the point itself are conforming. So it's not well suited to ADUs. And I think that that's part of the state regulation.
Well, actually, Mr. Chairman, in discussing, preparing for this meeting tonight, and speaking with staff, of course, I said that I would take the lead on this.
Okay.
And, you know, I understand this is a holiday week, and this is your last meeting, so I said I'd try and limit my comments to about 90 minutes, if that's okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, I'll be seeing you.
Here's the backdrop.
Go for it.
What you have in front of you pretty much is taken word for word from the General Assembly enactments 45, 24, 73, and 37. On this statutory language has been grafted onto zoning ordinance here. That's basically what they're looking at on this. And I think that's why Mr. Trombley made the comments that he made in the paper. Again, when there's an amendment to the zoning ordinance, the procedure that's set forth in the statute is that before the council can vote on any amendment to the zoning ordinance, it has to come to the planning board for a determination as to whether or not it applies with the town's comprehensive plan. So that's what you're here for tonight. That's your first step. You'll notice, however, that this is a marked up version of the statute. And it's correct, I'll be meeting tomorrow, unfortunately today, to go over with Alyssa and Matt. To go over some of the issues that, of course, you mentioned, but also some other things you see in this marked up version. Mostly type of draft. But I'd like to address some of the comments that you have on that when it comes to the ADU statute. In the procedure of it, you know, unfortunately, I have experience with this in other communities, as Allison does too. So I think we can answer some of the questions you may have about the ADU ordinance as you go to do your statutory duty of saying whether or not it applies to the comprehensive plan.
Now, clearly, you know, the comprehensive plan establishes a baseline for where this town is. And Mr. Trombley calls this gentle density with the ADUs and indicates that large developments, this could somehow balance off those or be instead of large developments. In fact, these, as I understand it, are not necessarily affordable. So in Washington State, right now, there are people building brand new houses with enormous ADUs that are essentially like a second house. And so the concept of affordability here is not, this doesn't necessarily, in fact, create affordable housing. And in fact, it could lead to someone taking a piece of land and instead of making $1 million out of it, makes 2 million. And that is not going to necessarily address the idea that people who can't afford to buy a house or can't afford an apartment will somehow find relief through these ADUs. I mean, it's a statement that does not hold up in terms of the facts of what is considered affordable. I mean, if you look at somebody who's got a ranch house and they build an ADU in their garage, it may be that that is less money than the standard rental rate that we have now, but it could also mean that they charge a lot more and pay their mortgage that way. So the idea of this somehow being a solution to affordable housing doesn't wash with me. It is, and it also, in taking away our ability to regulate how the town is developed, it goes against the idea of the planning board as the watchdog and oversight in our community. It is not, again, I understand the intention, but very much like the comprehensive permit, the intention apparently was to create affordable housing. The reality is, with only 25% required, and now it's even less, the percentage of houses for development under the comprehensive permit.
Is it down to 20% now?
No, but before we get to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Right then. Here's the unfortunate thing. Just like your zoning ordinance has to comply with the comprehensive plan, your zoning ordinance has to comply with the zoning enabling act, which is type 45 chapter. So what you see here is actually a general mandate that the ordinance applies to that statute. That's the first thing. Second thing is if you take a look at the ordinance in the statute, there's a bifurcation here. The first one is an ADU by right. And I'm gonna use just one of the categories that the lot has to be over 20,000 square feet. If it isn't, and then it's by special use permit, which is I think what we're trying to get to here with this ordinance. There are some factors that you can take a look at, and I talked to Alice about this. Because the question becomes, it says accessory dwelling unit. And that suggests that it's accessory to the main use to be a residential use. Some communities, Allison knows about this because it was her idea, which I wholeheartedly agree with. You see that there's a minimum here. Perhaps what you might want to suggest to the town council is that they be a maximum as to how big the ADU can be.
No, it's a maximum.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a maximum.
There's a maximum of 900 square feet.
Pretty big.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm happy about that.
But that's it, that's one of the very few
900.
flexibilities that local municipalities have.
60%.
is the state does allow you to establish that a maximum, but that maximum can't be any smaller. There's like a,
Can be bigger than the
Can be
house.
bigger than,
yeah, exactly.
and they talked about roof lines there, you know,
You don't want it to be that it's essentially the accessory dwelling.
is a second house.
Just to show,
Yeah,
yeah, like
which is
give
what it
you
has
a
become in
percent.
some states that pass
So
this.
that's a good
Question of
thing,
the-
Fred.
There's
I'm sorry, what?
some
That's a
ratio.
good thing.
Yeah, no, I'm not, I didn't mean to, first of all, I think it's important to get it on the record.
Yes.
We have been the punching bag for the comprehensive permit here for, ever since it was formed. And this, again, is something that's done without consultation with planning boards. And I find that, a misuse of power to not have this discussed as the same case with the comprehensive permit. It's coming down from folks who, feel that they know better, or have a better idea. And,
Or from
in
builders.
a town like ours, in a state like ours, which is one of the most densely populated states in the union, to then talk about gentle density increase, we're talking about, potentially significant problems unless there are stipulations for specifically size of the ADU and its relationship to the existing house. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, under the criteria C, where the proposed ADU is located within the existing footprint of the primary structure or existing accessory attached or detached structure, and does not expand the footprint of the structure. I've got two questions. They could go down or up. They could finish a basement or add another floor. We're talking about just the footprint, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And then the other question is, if they're on a septic system that's got a DEM permit for a septic system, say 3 bedrooms, and they add an ADU, they're still gonna be limited to the 3 bedrooms in that structure for that septic system supports, correct?
that's correct, yes.
So it seems to me that, for instance, in the Tuisa Point neighborhood, where the lots are small and a lot of those lots only support a 1 or 2 bedroom septic, even if they wanted to add the ADU, they're still gonna have to balance, they may be adding a kitchen, but they're not adding a bedroom. And
But it's no additional infrastructure improvements can be made for this.
Well, so,
Well,
It says no,
here's the
no
thing.
expanded septic required.
Yeah, which is,
Well, subsection C is, unless such improvements and or modifications are required by an applicable state agency for compliance with the state law or regulations, or to comply with building code requirements, or to address capacity or upgrades necessary to accommodate the ADU.
all right, so, and then that's my question about that whole standards and requirements section. Does that apply to both by right and to,
Yes,
okay, because that's unclear to me. Because so 32-132 ends with, subject to the standards and requirements of 32-133. Why isn't that phrase also at the end of 32-131?
That's by right, right, the section's by right, and then this one says, for zoning board review, these standards apply, but those should also apply above. And it also shouldn't just say zoning board of review, because the planning board, it could be involved with like a subdivision.
correct.
Yeah, so that needs to be expanded.
So.
That's
So can that language be added?
So this is flagging this right now for our meeting tomorrow. That language should be added to section 131. And also that, instead of just zoning board, it should also include planning board and building official.
Can I go through? I got a bunch of questions, actually.
Fire away.
32-131B. An ADU which meets the requirements of subsection A shall be permitted through an administrative building permit, and you would flag that language. What's the difference between an administrative building permit and a zoning permit?
Well, just that it's approved administratively, like by right would go to the zoning board. It's just staff.
Okay,
approval.
I think you would flag that language
Yeah,
I
to
think,
be administrative building permit process or administrative zoning process.
Maybe that means building official.
Okay,
I think an important metric here though is we're limited to the 20,000 square foot lot, right? On these that aren't for special needs or disability families or within the current dwelling above the garage.
those are the three.
That's a half acre lot. That's a pretty large lot, just like on brief research, our average lot size is 1/4 acre
Right.
here. So I think we're really gonna be limited on who can, I'm interested to see what that metric is, but I think we'd be surprised to see the limitations on who actually can put an ADU outside their, above their garage or something. And it's gonna be limited.
And the cost of, I mean, it is costly, the construction.
32-132, you reference adding, village business district and waterfront district. What about the rural district? What about the commercial industrial district?
Well, I think that's something that we need to take a look at, because if you take a look at 3247, that's one of the things that got flagged. That's the use table, accessory dwelling unit. You've got a P. In all of the zones except the special district. And commercial, that's something that needs to be taken a look at. Because the language itself has special use. Yeah. So the use table needs to be flagged. And in fact, that's something that already has been flagged. Because out of the.
Hold on, sorry.
What is the, I don't, Big long reclaimed bunk, so an ADU has to be permitted by right in any residential, or.
The concern that I have, and I'm sorry what happened.
Yeah.
This is, we're listening.
But the concern that I have with that is, it's by right for 20,000 square feet. Okay? Now, you can have a 20,000 square foot lot in an residential, again. To me, if you don't meet those criteria in certain zones, then you have to put the S in there as a special use permit. Unless by the ordinance, you have a permitted use, that's the trick. See, the difficulty is the assumption would be you're in the R10 zone, and everybody's 10,000 square feet. That's not the case. In the R40 zone, everybody's at 40,000 square feet. That's not the case. But still, because of what the statute says, there are kept right, there's a bifurcation that is permitted above 20,000, but below it's a special use. So we have to, for me, reflect that in the use table.
So that's why the
Now,
R10 and R6 have a P in it.
They can want to put an S smaller. And then if you can go to the building official and say, look, at 20,000 square feet, 25,000 square feet, or 40,000 square feet. And I want to go forward on it.
Unless you break it down like ADU, 20,000 square foot lot permitted across the board, less than 20 special use permit across the board, like kind of separated, I don't know.
You may, I noticed that there's a star there, and then that would drop it down and have it go.
Right.
have it
So
go from there.
I'd actually like to note a problem with the table, with the ordinance table online, which also comes through in this thing that he printed up. The rural district, the rural business district column doesn't even appear in the residential uses. That whole column is, so,
Rural business doesn't allow for residential use. It's in a separate.
okay. Okay, so,
And I don't know why that is.
right, but it is in the, it's in the agricultural uses table. So anyway. Rural business, which we're gonna rewrite anyway, but you know, 3/4 of the lots in that district are residential house lots. I mean, they have houses on them. I would like to add rural business in addition to waterfront business and village business. I can step back from the commercial industrial because that's just the business park, the new industrial way business park, really. So, okay, that, all right. Can I go on?
Certainly allowed under state law, I mean, you can certainly allow for ADUs in commercial, like, for example, if Shore allows actually ADUs to, commercial properties, businesses, not to residential properties. So
Right, but they have a really small commercial district too.
Can I toss something else up too, because your comprehensive plan has this more base zone. For the minute, alright.
Right.
And it's got like somewhere.
When we get there.
Well, in this,
They assume, Jane.
Well, yeah,
yeah, I mean, the form-based code was really the basis for the market to Metacom plan, that would make it work, because without the form-based code, it doesn't work. So, and clearly that should be reflected in this ordinance.
okay,
So the internal conflict, I just tie this back in this case. You do have with the star accessory dwelling unit shall be governed exclusively by the provisions of Article 24. But those provisions that are cited don't line up with what you have in the states. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen, I'll tell you that way.
so we rely on you to help us sort that out.
Well, I think that's part of what we have to discuss on this thing and talk to the council. But I think it's important to hear it out before you make it.
Okay, another question. 32-133, item G, 1 off-street parking space is required per ADU. The council in its discussion was willing to do it per ADU rather than per bedroom of ADU. I just wanted to find out what the board members think about whether they want parking space per bedroom or a parking space per unit.
Statute says, you can only be a one parking space per ADU.
I thought it was per bedroom.
I think the
Okay, let me, sorry.
Check, but I'm gonna do it.
Parking.
Before we go,
Require, oh, we can't require, okay, got it. Oh, well, no, actually it says per bedroom of ADU.
There.
No, I'm looking at the statute. Statute says, this is, 452473 B 8, my own Roman numerals are bad, BIII, require that the municipality shall not require more than one off-street parking space per bedroom of ADU.
So the draft here is less restrictive. State.
Yes, or if we, it's saying that we can go up to one per bedroom instead of one per unit if we want. I'm just asking the planning board what their opinion is on that.
I think it makes sense if you've got 2 bedrooms that you should have 2 parking spaces because you're increasing density and potentially in places that already have parking issues. I mean, for instance, in my neighborhood, there's no on-street parking.
Right, or
Roads are too
in my
small.
neighborhood where many properties don't even have parking.
Don't even, right, and so let's not make that mistake with this. I agree with you. For sure.
I agree.
Sorry, I'm being a nudge about this.
Not at all. This is valuable stuff.
I'm not done yet.
Okay, well, I wanted to go back. Are you moving?
And this is a
forward?
purpose of a planning board is to have these discussions.
I'm going through the ordinance bit by bit.
Well, I wanted to, is there, I don't want to get too far past 32, 13 standards and requirements.
Okay.
See, I don't no additional improvements in connection with the ADU, including but not limited to separate water or sewer lines or expanded septic system capacity shall be required unless such improvements are required by an applicable state agency for compliance with the state law. I mean, what does that mean?
That goes to my question about septic systems.
I think the state's right concerned that towns are gonna put too much, they're gonna over-regulate that by saying, okay, you need a whole new septic system maybe, or, so they're saying only what the state requires, so. But that's usually what towns follow anyway.
Well, but for example, the water though, wells, shallow wells, limited capacity. I'd like to see the village overlay district added as one of the places where these ADUs can't be because you have both water and septic issues. Most of the houses that have built septic systems lately have built the advanced innovative alternative systems, which are expensive because the wells are so close to the septic systems. And interestingly enough, there's a house out there that still has a cesspool, which apparently DEM is unwilling to go after until the people sell the house. Right next to a well and down uphill from the neighbor's private well next door. So there's already issues out there in terms of, existence.
The town has a ordinance to address this and they actually had 3 years from the ordinance passed to do something. And I mean.
I know, I wrote it.
Right, so this could be something that is brought to the building official to force them to do something. Even if DEM won't, can't the town?
Yes,
Well, we should be because we're a wastewater management district
yes.
and we have the power, but we've got nobody who's doing that job currently in the town.
Oh, so it's not being handled by Matt?
No,
Can we ask the town council to assign it to Matt?
Not so sure that's the guy.
yeah, might be the sewer authority.
Yeah, that's a little different, that's tricky.
I'm thinking that would be, actually the, operator of wastewater system. I think that'd be H2O.
Okay, well, can we ask the council to assign that role?
You can, why don't we just, we're gonna have a comprehensive motion. When you get. And, that's one of the things you think you should all put into that, because it kind of ties into the conference.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So, that's the circumstance. Now, I have to tell you that, because you don't have, water service out there, Worcester County Water. And you don't have, you're not hooked up to the town sewer system, that creates issues as to whether or not there can be an EDU. If you don't have those, systems in place. And that's the backstop of this.
Well, that's, I'd like that detailed, because this language in C is ambiguous to me. It feels as if somebody could say, okay, well, I had a septic system that was built for 3 bedrooms, so this can go in, but that doesn't address the problem of a very limited drinking water
Can I make
supply.
a suggestion?
Sure.
As part of this. What you might wanna do for those, areas of the town that don't have water service. Now that you wanna put in, a definition of acceptable water service coming from a well. Key to, what is it, gallons per minute?
Yeah,
You pump?
Yes,
Yeah.
gallons per minute, and, I guess we want to tie the gallons per minute to the bedroom, the occupancy capacity of the house.
Correct, and if you have that formula in there, that's something you should take a look at anyway.
well, it's a capacity issue as well. I
Yes.
mean, it's like, it's not just the gallons per minute, it's what you're able to draw up. And there are houses, for instance, in what's referred to as the Highlands, which is actually closer to Kickamill River, where a lot of those wells sometimes run dry in the summer as a result of
Yes.
the draw from the development that was.
So related to this, if I remember correctly, the building official requires new construction out in Twisted to have sprinklers, and that they put,
No.
they don't,
No. That, not that, no.
because there's no
There's no
fire
water.
hydrants out there. Okay, so, they did it one time though, didn't they? Wasn't there?
No.
Okay.
There's never been.
Again, getting to the water supply issue, particularly with a house that burned down out there. Is it worth considering that, if someone has an ADU, they also have to have a tank in the attic and a sprinkler system for the ADU and the
I'd
main
rather
building?
just not have the ADU there. I mean, that to
But-
me is you're working too hard to
I understand that, but
shoehorn an ADU.
but I'm
into
not
it.
sure that we can tell them they
Wait a
can't have.
minute, is just renting a bedroom out of your existing home not considered an ADU?
No.
It's not an ADU, so it's gonna be a separate.
Separate entrances, there's like a whole criteria.
It meet building and fire code requirements, so a fire marshal, your building official is gonna go through that unit and make sure it meets those requirements before it's issued, certificate of occupancy.
But I like going back to Tony's approach, which is any of the areas that are not served by the Bristol County Water Authority or by the town sewer authority are outside the scope of ADU acceptance.
But if you can refresh my memory, if someone's gonna be building a house out there. Don't they have to have a certificate of, the fact that they have water availability? That's sufficient, for.
I would assume so, but it's, there's
Part of
been
the
no
building.
new,
It's part of the building permit.
right, there's been no new houses out there, so it's the redevelopment of existing houses.
Is it- you talk about that?
I have 2 more questions.
Sure. So is that? Okay,
Yeah. In my mind now, crafting a motion. That I'll propose, that'll only take me about 15 minutes to get through.
great.
Joking.
I do what you don't think.
So the statute also references, that ADUs, let's see.
Where are you?
I'm in, well, actually, it's not in our language, I don't think. Inclusion. Yeah, it's not, okay, so the statute says, for all ADU applications, municipalities shall not, and this is, item XI, require an ADU to be exclusively occupied by a household that is low income or moderate income unless such ADU is part of an inclusionary zoning or comprehensive permit application. So we don't have inclusionary zoning right now in town. If we don't have it, but we want to add it, because I think is it in the comp plan that we wanted to put in inclusionary zoning? I wasn't on the board when the comp plan was being,
Recall that.
I don't. either.
I know I raised it when I first got on this board.
It is a strategy, but a lot of towns don't utilize inclusionary zoning, it doesn't have a lot of, unless you have like a lot of stuff like large.
Am I complicating things too much about asking about that right now?
No, it's not. The reason it's not in there is because it can't require ADUs to be low on the board.
Right.
Can't require that. That's why we don't have it.
Okay, all right.
A lot of this unfortunately is like state law language and to keep it consistent with that, you can't really modify, even if it doesn't, isn't clear, some cases, typically the recommendation. Keep it very similar with state law language.
My last question has to do with condo projects. For instance, Hanley Farm is detached single-family condos. And the statute voids any restrictions on ADUs that might be in the condo docs.
That's correct.
So does that mean that, I mean, how would that work? How would someone put an ADU?
You approve the ending farm now. You gotta worry that later on, those individual units and add on the.
Well, how big are those individual lots though?
Well, but that's the point, they're not individual lots, it's a condo project, it's all one lot with detached single-family unit. It's as if they were townhouses, but there's no common walls.
Don't they have a shared wastewater treatment? And I'm not sure,
They're on Bristol County,
they're on Bristol County Water.
I mean, they're on town sewer too.
Here's the thing. People are in that business. They're gonna be figuring out ways to get it done. Just see. Is there a risk? I think that's the real question. The answer is yes.
A risk to,
Well, so for instance, someone owns a single-family house in Hanley Farm.
Yep.
They are on town sewer and town water, so they're not limited by those constraints. They've got a garage and they convert the garage into, add another bedroom and another kitchen. It's still, under the condo docs, just one condo unit. But it's now two dwelling units. Am I interpreting this correctly?
That goes to the condo. And that's something that they're gonna have to fight out. But they've got this statute that they have to run up against. Because that becomes, if it's a town issue from a regulatory standpoint. It's a condo issue for the governing standpoint. And what happens then? You have a condo, a document that says we've got 10 units here. And you have a risk that 15, 16, 17, so what happens?
Or 30.
Yes, exactly. It's a definite issue that I think there will be law created on it after that.
But it's not our problem. This,
Not on the condo end of it, but from a regulatory standpoint. From, you know, your typical planning issues of traffic and stuff like that, yeah, you have to deal with it. You've got the constraints that you have under the statute and on the ordinance.
I mean,
But from a governance standpoint, that's something that the neighbors are gonna have to fight out.
so,
Nothing says a neighbor with more like a lawsuit, I'm telling you, that's what's happening now.
so on a lot with a total lot area of 20,000 square feet or more, for which the primary use is residential. I mean, this is a 10-acre site with 30 units on it.
But it's one lot, right?
It's
Hanley
one
Farm.
lot.
So only one ADU is allowed per one lot, so I don't think, we're not talking, so it's only one ADU is allowed by state law.
Well, that's a hoot. Okay,
Right?
I feel better now. Okay.
Yeah, one
interesting.
dwelling unit per lot, so it doesn't, even if you have 10-acre lot, doesn't mean you can have one ADU for every 20,000 of that lot, it's only one.
And so it's per lot, not per dwelling unit on the lot.
Because you're looking at common elements
Yeah,
and limited common.
yeah, not clear
Okay,
on that.
so I don't need to
Just
worry.
got a bad feeling about it. Okay, tell you that.
Okay, all right. I think, sorry for all my questions.
Not
but,
at all.
I think that was all of them. I really want to make sure that the provisions of standards and requirements also apply to the by right units. That's the big thing
Yes.
for me.
Alyssa's shaking her head, so. That'll be on the agenda.
Good.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know if anyone else had any.
Is this,
No, that was good.
this ADU legislation, is this what was introduced by June Speakman, or is this separate from?
I don't know who the sponsor was. It was just part of that big package bill.
Okay,
It was sponsored by Speak.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
It was sponsored by Speak.
Well, that's
It
what I
was
knew
a
that-
primary on
But she may not have been the lead sponsor.
Right, but
She might
it.
have
My
been
understanding,
co-sponsor.
she was.
sponsored. And, okay,
Forget.
I'm gonna hold my fire on that one.
I linked it in the story.
It did.
It's online. She earned, I don't wanna butcher her last name, Gu, Gu or Gu.
Senator
Representatives of the people. Of the
But it
town.
would be important to get this ADU ordinance, and I know the template.
Absolutely.
Now we're getting so many questions and being approached, right, to have this on the books so they can direct people to this. And it is within the scope of Westland Sampson as well, so, as part of that, there's zoning amendment that needs to be attached.
And then once this is reworked by, you folks, it goes before a public hearing.
That's correct, yeah.
And, so there's another whack at it.
Well, we'll have another talk about it, no?
No,
No, this is it.
Yeah.
Oh, so we don't make a recommendation to the council
you're making your recommendation tonight.
With conditions.
with the comments that we've shared?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, anything else? All right, then, I'd make a motion to, note that reluctantly, this fits within the comprehensive plan, and due to the fact that it's mandated, by the state, we have made particular conditions that we feel will better meet the intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan if these conditions are included in the final regulation.
That would be what I would suggest, that you do. We have the list with Melissa on this, and I think it goes to what, Jenny said. She wants to make sure that the by right, portion of the ordinance is also subject to the conditions that are in, the special use permit section. Is that correct? That the town council should take a good look at the use table to make sure that there is internal consistency, and also that the rural business district is addressed in this.
As is the village overlay and the, I think, I know we put into the comprehensive plan that it, due to the water, that was a special area, Allison, that that whole Twisted Point area was designated specifically due to the fact that the water there is at issue and threatened already. So
And that
that,
perhaps there should be some regulations in the town's subdivision and other regulations to ensure that there is adequate potable water
Well, adequate potable water and adequate fire protection.
and fire protection, I beg your pardon.
So, I mean, it is listed as an implementation action because this, knowing that this is a requirement to draft ADU ordinance with state law. So this is implementing the comprehensive plan, and it is within your housing element. Of course, you want to, allow for, even if it's not deed restricted, low and, capital affordable, it is a diversification of your housing stock. It's a different type of housing unit that is typically gonna be more affordable. So that I feel, again, consistent with the comprehensive plan, but just, you also wanna make sure that's balanced with the protection of natural resources and.
And
you know,
existing
neighborhood
infrastructure.
character. We could put that.
Can we put anything in there for sprinkler systems for new developments? No. a
That's something
requirement?
you can take a look at, but not from this one.
That would have to be through building, right? Like, that'd be separate.
Yeah, and,
This is just gonna align us saying like, hey, building, it's gotta be the code. And then if we want to address sprinkler, that would go through building.
So here,
The
Yes.
state's not wanting anything nothing, you can't really require anything additional to an ADU that you wouldn't require for. another
Anywhere else.
residential
Does an
unit, so,
ADU have to have its own separate heating system? Or
No,
it can run off a common system?
Yes.
the thing, it could be within the main home, right? Portion of it.
I know from the plumbing code side, you're required to have a sprinkler over a boiler.
okay, so we'll trust that those points made here will enter into your discussion and the final product, that then goes out for public hearing.
We as the public can also be at that hearing and give our input to the town council outside of this. I think
Yeah,
we do
well-
have an opportunity to give comments if we have additional comments as a member of the public.
Could this be sent to, your updated piece, could that be sent to the planning board members once you've?
Yeah, what I'm thinking that might want to support the, then the motion. That a staff very memorandum outlining the place of this discussion. And detailing any revisions to the ordinance that was heard for the first hearing by the town council. And that would be shared with planning board prior to the public hearing.
You might, if you put it on next month's planning agenda, right, it would be prior to the public hearing, so then you have to actually do that.
So prior to, yeah, so,
Have it.
yeah, so the addendum,
Okay, they don't, sometimes they schedule it out. It is already scheduled. Oh, okay, okay.
so the addendum,
I had asked them to postpone and the council felt, no, it had to be done right now.
Yeah, actually, Jenny asked. Oh. A few times that they said.
Well, there can also be future amendments if there's something, if you want to speak to it later on. Oh, really?
all right, so, the motion is to, reluctantly agree to this due to the fact that it's a state mandate, but that we are requesting conditions to ensure that natural resources and existing infrastructure is not negatively impacted by this, thereby impacting current residents.
May I suggest a slight revision?
Sure.
The motion would be to report to the town council that the ordinance applies with comprehensive planning, because that's the statutory requirement. However, the following comments from the planning board to ensure that it complies with the comprehensive plan are bold.
Okay, that's his Chinese language.
And furthermore, that staff prepare a memorandum to be distributed to the town council.
To the
detailing
planning board.
the amendments and the planning board
Prior to the,
prior to the public hearing
And the parking spaces was one of the other amendments.
with the parking. space.
Right.
Yeah, I have that.
great. Okay,
You want-
Second,
Want that moved?
all in favor?
Well, did we get a second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Rick.
Rich,
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. The calendar approval, we all received that.
Can I request that December 28th be December 21st instead? 2026?
Yes.
You good with that?
Okay.
21st,
Okay.
2-1.
I need a motion on.
I mean.
Yeah,
Well-
Jenny made the motion. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Now you need to make a motion.
To accept the next
Accept as amended.
schedule.
Make a motion to accept the 2026 meeting schedule as amended by Jenny.
Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, and public comment? Public comment,
Bueller.
Bueller?
What's in?
Yeah, please. This is your chance.
The chair recognizes
an opinion.
our esteemed member of the Fourth Estate, Mike Rigo, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I gotta say, this is a great regret on my part in leaving. But it feels like the right time for me. I promise you that I will not fade into the wallpaper. But I, you know, you're a good group and you'll be able to protect and preserve the quality of this town, I hope, as best we've done over the last 17 years and the folks before us. This planning board has really changed since I came on 17 years ago, and part as a reaction to outside forces, but also through the creation of the comprehensive plan, which is a real masterwork, and the credit belongs to a wide range of people, not so the folks who were on the board and who are no longer on the board, to the public comments that came in. And that this was, I think it worked the way a comprehensive plan is supposed to work, but it took an awful long time to get there. That was just structurally. So I'm hanging up my gavel, which I never used anyway. I'd like to recommend that Blake serve as interim chairman for the next month to make a transition, and then I think after you're all sworn in and folks are there, you'll want to go through an election, you know, we haven't had a vice chair for a long time, by the way, and that's also a helpful thing to have. But you know, and the reason I did that is because I think Blake came forward and produced this. Jenny, you've been terrific as well in terms of
I want Blake.
being very detailed, and I would say Tim, Terry, and Rick, you know, you folks, it's been good to serve with you, because I felt like, I mean, I've had folks on the planning board who would say no and then not explain themselves, and you know, and yes and not explain themselves. I think we came to a real understanding of what we wanted to do and respect for each other's opinions. So it's been a real pleasure, and you know, I'm and Tony, I mean, you're like my uncle. It's my Uncle Tony.
Uncle Tony.
You know? I mean, I have the greatest respect for you, and it's not shared with all lawyers in this state, because I know a lot of them. But you've been a great help, and Allison, you've been terrific to step in like this, the way you have, and help us make these decisions, and to do things like that letter as an example of many pieces of work you've done. You know, I'm highly appreciative of your work. And Tony and Ben, you know, I'm sorry Ben isn't here, but Ben's been fantastic, as have all your associates that we've had here. I think the most important thing that I can leave you with is to ensure that anytime a decision is made, you speak to the town solicitor and you ensure that what is being promoted meets the letter of the law, to move it forward. And I think we've been fortunate that we haven't had a lot of suits, comprehensive permit aside, based on, board decisions. And that's important because it's expensive, you know? So the more buttoned down you are in terms of your decisions, and the better it is, not only for the board, but for the town as a whole. So that's, enough out of me.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Blake as the vice chair.
Yeah.
Not on the open
Yeah,
meeting,
you have to
not
do
on
it
the agenda, you gotta do it.
Next time.
Oh,
And
okay.
January is a month anyways, we do,
Yeah.
so if I'm right, yeah, it's just a recommendation, but January we'll hold the election for the chair, the vice chair, everyone gets sworn in. And then we need
No,
to put a
I
request.
understand that. What I'm saying is to have you being the chair for our next meeting.
The interim chair.
Yeah, it's just
An
an
interim
interim
chair.
chair.
You gotta make the motion at the beginning of next meeting,
Okay,
not on this agenda.
Okay.
And it's okay, just do it first up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, How do we get to know?
otherwise we're leaderless without it.
Yeah. Hey, it's hard to give up the reins.
Well, I'll say that it's been a real honor working with you, the short time that I've been on this board. To set a very high bar on what it means to serve this board effectively. So
Well,
I'm
thank you.
really proud to have that role model and to have worked with you.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, it's, knowing my antecedents, I'm sure that my teachers from junior high school, kindergarten, all the way through high school, would be astounded to see this particular person sitting here.
Well, I mean, what I would say is I've been to dozens of planning boards in my professional capacity along the East Coast. I wish I've had chairman as versed as you and willing to collaborate with applicants, and I hope to, as a board, we can continue that, to
Great.
be well versed in what we know. We have a lot of knowledge on this, and to be collaborative with our applicants and trusting of our professionals. I think you set the standard for that we're ready to uphold and go into a year of production where we start getting things done and bringing this comprehensive plan that you spent so much time and you should be proud of.
Yeah.
Now it's up to us to bring it to life for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be good to watch and good for the town. I think this is, hopefully, the level of education will increase among the folks in the town. But anyway, vote, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.